Hey everyone, this is Mike, and well, it has happened again. A MOBA has found its way back into my life, or I have found a MOBA again, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, last few weeks, or like the last week and a half or something like that, I've been playing some League of Legends again, and it's because a couple of my friends from my static, as well as some friends outside of the static, apparently they played it quite a decent amount, and they needed the fifth player, and they were like, hey Ilya, do you want to come join us on League of Legends? And I was like, yeah, I guess if you have a full team, might as well give it a shot, because League of Legends is a game that I used to play quite some time ago. Like back then, I think level 30 was still the max that you could go, and we still had rune pages and masteries, not just like one system combined together. So yeah, very long time ago since I last played the game. But it is a genre that I've always enjoyed. I've played a wide variety of different MOBAs over the years. It started with Dota 2, then went into League of Legends, got to know some people that also played some Smite, so played that as well, very unique one compared to the normal MOBA genre, so to speak. I played some Strife, and then Dawngate, which was probably one of my favorite ones, like especially looking back with some nostalgia. But yeah, Dawngate unfortunately enough got shut down by EA because it wasn't the cash cow they were hoping it to be. In my opinion, still one of my more favorite MOBAs to play, but of course it did get shut down. I do know that there are a couple of projects in the works of like people trying to revive Dawngate and like rebuild it and that kind of stuff. But it's been a few years at this point, so I'm not really all too hopeful that it will be that amazing. But then again, if Dawngate was to make a comeback, you can definitely know that I will be playing it, because Dawngate I think was a fantastic MOBA. Maybe I'll make like a video on it separately or something like that, if you guys would be interested in what Dawngate was and why I enjoyed it so much. Now, when it comes down to the MOBA genre in general, I've always really enjoyed it. When I first started playing games, I was mostly into shooters, because like back then the only thing our PC could handle was like Unreal Tournament 1998 or something like that, like the Game of the Year edition, one of the first Unreal Tournament games. Eventually got a laptop, started playing Call of Duty on that. Then got into like console gaming, more Call of Duty at that point. But then when I started playing on PC again, I started playing stuff like StarCraft, which I might make a video in the future as well, and then Dota 2. Now, when it comes down to MOBAs, I wasn't necessarily immediately into them, so to speak. It took quite some time for me to get into them, because when I first got into Dota, when I first played Dota is how I should phrase it. I had no idea what I was doing, so I'd never played many PC games before. I had never even heard of what a MOBA was. So when I first saw some gameplay of it, I was very confused as to what it was, because I of course didn't know what the map was. There were like 100 different characters that you could choose from, and I'm like, well, do I need to learn all of these different abilities? And then eventually, like, of course, I got a key through someone, because back then in Dota it was still in closed beta, so you needed keys from people in order to be able to play, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, got into it, loaded up a game with bots to see what it was like, basically, to see if I would like it, and to not int my team, because of course MOBAs are team games and I didn't want to be a burden to my team. So I wanted to kind of see what it was like first before I went into like an actual player versus player game. Now, I loaded up a game with bots, I go into it, I run around for like a minute, I have no idea what the hell is going on, because there's like lanes with towers in a jungle, but there's no monsters around, and I'm like, why is there nothing spawning or something like that? And eventually I just closed out of the game and I didn't give it a second thought. Fast forward a little bit, I don't know exactly how long it was, but a friend of mine that I rode home with from school on the bus invited me to come play some League of Legends, because he had a game that he wanted to play with me. I believe it was Arma 2, but I wasn't super interested in the game, and I didn't want to spend the little allowance that I had back then to buy that game. And he was like, you know what, if you play 5 games of League of Legends with me, I'll buy you the game. Of course, it was like 10, maybe 15 euros back then, might have even been on sale, who knows. So it wasn't too much money, but of course, like back then for me, it was a whole lot more than it would be now, because I didn't have a job, I didn't earn money, that kind of stuff. So I played 5 games of League with him. Had a good time. I enjoyed playing it. I got to know the basics of what a MOBA is, but I didn't stay with League of Legends purely because of the fact that it looked like crap. This was before the Summoner's Rift update, so League of Legends still looked like the old League of Legends, which looked like shit in my opinion. So that's one of the main reasons why I didn't stick to League, because it just didn't look good, especially knowing that Dota 2 is also a MOBA, and that thing looked fantastic compared to the old League of Legends. So eventually started playing some Dota 2 here or there, still had no idea what the hell I was doing. But then Purge Gamers had a series like Welcome to Dota You Suck, And then we also had the single draft disaster from Total Biscuit. So I kind of watched those two things. Got really into Dota 2. Then, of course, Toby 1 Kenobi with the Join Dota guys were a very big influence as well. They got me into the pro scene and that kind of stuff. And I got really interested in like MOBAs as an esport. Eventually played a whole lot of Dota. I've got like a little bit over 1,000 hours on the game at this point, which in retrospect actually isn't that much, seeing how I first started playing it like 7-8 years ago or something like that. Whereas in Final Fantasy, I've got like 7,000 hours at this point, I think. And I've only been playing that for the last 4 years or something. So yeah, in retrospect, maybe 1,000 hours over all that time is not that much. But for me, back then, it is still, and right now, it is still one of my most played games. I think it's like my second or third most played game of all time. So Dota 2, again, I played quite a lot and I have fond memories of. But of course, when my friends stopped playing it, so did I kind of do. Because when it comes down to MOBAs and the genre as a whole, I enjoy playing it with friends because it is a team game, it is team versus team, and unfortunately enough there is a lot of toxicity that goes on in your matches. Of course, sometimes you have really good teammates that even if you're losing are very like well-mannered about it and they're like, okay, well, next game better or something like that. But yeah, most of the time it's like, oh, what the hell are you doing, dude, in the jungle, or oh my god, top lane is feeding or whatever, and it usually is a lot of toxicity. And that is why when my friends invited me to play, I was like, oh, if you have a full team, I don't mind joining. Now, that was kind of like the first mistake that I made, join them, because now I'm kind of interested in the genre again, started watching some pro games again, and I kind of got stuck into playing the game again. Of course, the gameplay you're seeing in the background is me playing solo, because quite simply I just needed some gameplay to throw at the end of, like, behind this video or behind this commentary. But usually I just like to play it with some friends, and I don't think I would play it all that much if I didn't have friends to play it with. Now, of course, as I said before, Dota first, then League of Legends kind of came after that because I got to know some friends that played that as well. Like, I think one of my friends that I played Dota with had a couple of other friends that played League of Legends and Smite, so that's how I kind of got into those two games. League of Legends, the one that we played more, since Smite is a little bit different and we didn't have as many people to play that with. But then eventually we kind of went our separate ways, and I started playing other stuff like Strife because I still wanted to play MOBAs, but I kind of wanted to find something new. So I played Strife, and then eventually Dawngate, which is still the one that I look back with the most fond memories of, because it was very unique. It still was doing the same thing of what a MOBA is, but it had its own unique twist, and it felt very different from the usual MOBA experience. There was a lot more fighting involved, which I think was a whole lot of fun. Now, when it comes down to why I enjoy the MOBA genre so much, it's actually very simple. Now, I'm somebody that likes to play RPG games, like for example Final Fantasy, the most prevalent one that I've been playing over the last few years. And in an RPG, you start off at level 1, and then you make your character level up through doing stuff, and then also get some gear, and then you get stronger and stronger. You get new skills, you get, like in MOBAs in this case, higher levels of those skills, and then you also get more gear, and those gear or that gear makes you deal more damage and that kind of stuff. And basically you go from being a very weak character in the early game to being an extremely strong character in the late game, or like in an MMO's case, like going from level 1 to max level and then gearing up once you reach that max level as well, doing raids and that kind of stuff. And that's always been incredibly fun to me because it's not only a team activity, like once you reach that end game, but the leveling process as well. You get new skills, you get stronger, and it's a really cool feeling to then get everything come together at the end of the game once you reach that max level. And in a MOBA you basically get that same leveling experience, but instead of it taking you, let's say 50 to 100, maybe even 200 hours or something like that, depending on how many different classes you want to level, especially in Final Fantasy because there's like 15 or something that you can level at this point. But basically in a MOBA you get that same leveling experience going from 1 to, well, whatever it is in most of these MOBAs nowadays. Like I think Dota goes to 30 at this point, and then League of Legends is like 20 maybe, I'm not quite sure. But basically, you go from 1 to max level, you get items along the way, you unlock those new skills, you level up those skills, and you go from being a very weak character at the start to being a fully fledged, leveled up character with items towards like the 30-40 minute mark or something like that. And that is a very cool experience because it still gives you that leveling experience, that a MOBA or like an RPG gives you, but instead of it taking so much longer for you to get your character built up and that kind of stuff, it all happens in a time span of 20 to 40 minutes, and then you play against other people with it. And that is something that I've always really enjoyed. If people were to ask me, do you want to come play some Dota with me, I'd probably say yes if they had a team, because I just really enjoy the genre, and it doesn't really matter which of the games that I play, as long as I can play it with friends and as long as I enjoy it. Because of course, like, if people were to ask me to come play Strife, probably wouldn't at this point because it's been so long, and I also wasn't the biggest fan of Strife because of like the way it looked and felt. But if people were to be like, oh yeah, let's play some Smite, or let's play some Dota, let's play some League of Legends, I'd definitely be down to do so, because I think the MOBA genre is something that I've always quite enjoyed. Of course, there are some systems, especially in League of Legends, that I might not be the biggest fan of, especially when it comes down to like unlocking champions and that kind of stuff. Definitely prefer the way Dota does it, because you have all of the characters available when you start as a new player, so it's a lot better when it comes down to unlocking, because you don't feel like you need to play like 1,000 hours before you can have all the characters unlocked, or that you have to play like put in 500 euros or something just to unlock your characters. Whereas with League of Legends, it does feel a little bit more like that. Of course, if you play the game for thousands and thousands of hours, you can buy everything, but still, I prefer the way Dota does that. But I think all of the different MOBAs are pretty good for what they are. Smite is very unique because it's like that third-person mode. Dawngate was just a very unique MOBA in itself because of the mechanics that it has. And then Dota and League of Legends, of course, have plenty of differences as well, both when it comes down to the way the map plays out, the way your team layout is, because of course, like, jungling is not a real role in Dota 2, so to speak. But also like the way the map flows, the way the game flows, because usually games in Dota last a little bit longer than in League of Legends. But there's very much, like, there's so many different things basically about all of these different MOBAs, and that is why I enjoy switching in between them every now and then. I am not someone that is like pro Dota or pro League of Legends, and I'm like, oh yeah, I play Dota, so fuck League of Legends, guys, or I play League of Legends, well, Dota is crap. No, I enjoy all of the games for what they are, and I don't mind switching in between all of them. So don't be that guy in the comments that is like, League of Legends is the best because blah blah blah. No, all of the games are good. If you have a preference, of course, it's totally fine. Like, at the moment, I enjoy playing League of Legends a little bit more than the other ones, but that's mainly also because I just have friends to play that with. And yeah, and I think that's kind of like the big takeaway from this one. If you have friends to play games with, then that is kind of also the games that I would like to enjoy. Like, for example, Destiny 2. I don't play that much when I play by myself, but if my friends hit me up and are like, hey, you want to come do weeklies with us or something like that, then I'm like, sure, let me log in and have a good time. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about in today's video. Maybe might do some more League of Legends stuff in the future, who knows. Maybe record some games when we're playing with some friends or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see if that actually ends up happening. For now, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.